Hey out there, this is Thursday, November 5th, 2020. And it is just about 13 minutes past 8 in the morning here in Northern California. And as usual, I'll get into a few different subjects today. Of course, what's on everybody's mind is the election. And, you know, thanks to God, I have come to some semblance of peace about the whole thing. And I chose to vote. But, if anybody out there didn't vote deliberately, said, you know what, I don't like either candidate. And, that to me is just as valid. That's your voice. That's a statement. That can be a protest of sorts, is that you just don't have faith in the system. And I don't hold it against anybody. I don't consider you any less patriotic. I mean, this whole idea of a democracy is just absurd. It just makes me nuts when I hear the mainstream media, oh, this is your democratic duty and all this crap. Where's the mainstream media on pointing out day in and day out, like I do week in and week out, about the fraud that's taken place at the uppermost echelons of power in our government under the pretense of of democracy and capitalism too. This bailout of '08, for example, this whole idea that they come up with this meme that these people, these criminal bankster classes are too big to jail and too big to fail, going against the will of over 90% of the American people. And I'm supposed to pay homage to the government and the democracy, okay? These politicians and bureaucrats, the money printers, the freaking Federal Labor Department, supposed to be representing the interests of the minimum wage workers. They've been obviously, through vast empirical evidence, deliberate. This is what I have discovered. They've been deliberately remiss. They are nothing more than stooges, lapdogs for the money printing class. And in that same group of traitors is the Congress and Senate. Not every one of them. That's the problem here. But enough to get the job done. That's called a critical mass. So they go against the will of 90% of the American people, just shrug us off as if we're just the dumb, unwashed masses, the useless feeders out there, the commoners, the plebs. Total disregard for democracy. And yet I got to hear this crap. Well, we have a democracy. What a load in the commode. You people are sick and twisted, mainstream media. You know that? You make me want to vomit. But to me, having too much faith in this political system is political illness. It's not exactly mental illness, but it's like a religious fanatic. It's like having faith in a cult and the cult leaders out there taking us on this path to destruction. I'm not an I told you so kind of guy. I'm the kind of guy, if I screw up in my life, I'll share it with every Tom, Dick, and Harry and Sally out there that want to hear me. So to help them avoid it. Because you live in a world where there's a whole lot of people that want to see you fall into a pit. They want to see you fail. They want to see you lose. Misery loves company. That's the spirit of this world. There's a lot of small-minded, deluded people. That's what you got to wake up to, that have faith in a false, pseudo, bad religion. And that religion that these establishmentarians represent, I call this status quoism. Okay? And you don't want to have too much faith in these people. Okay? Listen, my friends, they are thieves. You don't really need to know too much more, but that's how this thing works. We all know how bad slavery is, yet over a long period of time, what's happened in America is they've normalized slavery, got us to accept it. And you said, well, we got all these people that can't cut the mustard, so we got to throw a few crumbs out there, and we'll make sure that the that the financially well-heeled suck up those crumbs eventually, like the Section 8 housing giveaway. $50 billion a year of my money, a taxpayer. Your money, a taxpayer, pays this $50 billion each and every year in America to subsidize the housing costs for poor people that can't pay their housing costs. You think I'm a socialist? You think I'm a bleeding heart liberal? When I excoriate that program, why? Because it's done nothing but exacerbate the problem of homelessness. The exact thing it claims to be, well, we're trying to stop homelessness. We've got to subsidize these poor people. They can't afford their housing costs. There are a bunch of low-life losers, slow socialist moochers out there. Then you find out that all that money at the end of the day goes in the pockets of fat cats like Robert Kiyosaki, a.k.a. Rich Dad out there, his ilk. I'm not fingering him, okay? But I'm telling you, it's that same kind of people, the investors, the speculators, the flippers. You understand? All the people that have a vested interest in raising your cost for housing. And that's all you need to destroy the entire economy. It caused a chain reaction. So that bailout of '08, that was all about making sure that the criminals that deliberately caused the problem stayed financially well-heeled. If anybody's getting a haircut, it's going to be those people. Remember all that talk about the liar loans? They lied on their loan, we found out. That's why we stole their house rightfully. They're liars. You remember that? That rash of foreclosures after that? You know what led up to that need for the bailout of '08? Instead of calling it a market correction, like you see in capitalism, that's what happens. Prices don't keep going up. Your money doesn't keep going down in worth. Same thing. Cost of living goes up, the worth of your money goes down. A little kid can understand it. So if anybody's being honest, they know I'm in my right mind. They know I know what I'm talking about. I'm not a nut. I'm a fiscal conservative. I just want problems fixed. Stop BSing us. And stop allowing them to BS you. Be empowered. Speak the truth to power. And anybody else that'll listen, awaken them saying, hey, wake up, oh sleeper. The time's up, man. It's time to smell the carcass, the rotting flesh, okay? The maggot-ridden corpse that used to be the great nation called America. We say we're the richest nation on earth. 25 trillion in debt and growing. Not a whisper, radio silence from the mainstream media on how we're going to get that paid off. Who owes it? How's it being extracted? How are we maintaining this debt? Oh, shh. Are you getting richer? Just shut up. Yeah, it's a rigged game. Of course it is. How do you expect us to stay on top? You're part of it. You're getting richer. Shut your beak. Go along to get along. The path of least resistance. You're on the bandwagon. You made it. So there's a lot of losers out there that are falling through the cracks. You see why I'm outraged? If you're not outraged, you're not being honest. Listen, we're all going to be held accountable for not only the things we do in our lives, sins we commit, wrongdoings, evil goings on in our lives, in our hearts and minds, in our spirits and souls, like things that come out our mouths, in our behavior toward others, the way we think. Are we living by the golden rule? We're going to answer for the things we don't do as well, okay? And if you don't care about the least of men, guess what? You cannot rightfully, honestly call yourself a Christian. So anybody out there that says, oh, he's calling it, some of the Jews are not real, they're false, and some of the Muslims, they're not real, they're false. Yeah, well, look who I'm excoriating the most. Okay, I'm a Bible-believing disciple of the teachings of Christ. Do you understand? If you want to call me a Christian, so be it. I'm not perfect. I'm as flawed as the next human being. But I'm trying. I'm trying to be at least honest. I want to be somebody. I don't want to be a small-minded, deluded, brute beast the way these a-holes at the top want us to be. I'm just calling them a-holes because you got to call a spade a spade. You'll know them by their fruits. They're evil. Evil men rule the world. Do you understand? Through subterfuge, sneaky, cunning, evil genius. Through diabolical means. You understand? And they can dupe people because people are in a trance. They're mesmerized with their smartphones, with the mainstream media, all the crap that we get inundated with day in and day out. The propaganda. We all know these terms aren't made up. It's not like I'm coming up with a conspiracy theory here. Gaslighting and all. This is how they roll, man. These politicians, it's world wrestling entertainment. Except in their case, it's world political entertainment. That bailout of '08, you think it wasn't, if it was all Democrats to blame, I'd just be on their case. Or if it was all Republicans, I'd just be on their case. No, they colluded together against the interests of the American people. They knew damn well. And then they say, well, we know what's going to happen. Our money's going to be worth less. So we better make sure we get ours. So they give themselves raises. They make you, the taxpayer, me, the taxpayer, pay more to make sure they're healed. You get how this thing works? You get why I tie slavery into this whole thing? They've normalized slavery right under our noses. It took them over half a century. The assassination of JFK in 1963 was the last hope this country had. Okay, this country would be in the black, would have a surplus in the tax coffers, would have prosperity, that gap between the haves and have-nots, that wealth imbalance, that wealth disparity people talk about, it'd be practically nil. We'd be playing a game that was enjoyable, that we were all winning. And we all had an ever-growing sense of security. We all had an ever-growing sense of freedom. But instead we got this, a pile of dung. That's what's become of my beloved, precious, cherished nation, America. I'm a patriot, yes. I feel very lucky. I thank God I was born in America. And the main reason is that I have free speech. Okay? That's it. That's the main reason. And if you can't handle, if it's too hot in the kitchen, you need to get the hell out of America. Okay? That's it. But I know I live in a world where there's a whole hell of a lot of deluded, small-minded, brute beast, pissant-like thinkers out there. They don't understand anything. They don't know. They still tout Obama and they still tout Clinton. Clinton allowing the Glass-Steagall Act. I was talking about what led up to that need for the bailout of '08. That was Slick Willie, okay, doing a huge favor to the banksters. If anybody remembers that Whitewater scandal, that thing suddenly disappeared after that. Toward the end of his term, he let that expire. That was a regulation that kept the banksters on some sort of leash. Okay, but when he got rid of that, it was a green light. Go Wild West on the public. And what that translates to is dumping huge sums of money on the housing market. You see, because if you have something, your product, your commodity that you're making money off is money. So you got to rent it out. You understand? You're renting the money out by loaning it, interest and all that. You understand how that works? So they didn't do anything for it. They get this free money given to them. Well, you use it. You know, I'm your source. I'm your supplier. I'm the wholesaler here. I'm the manufacturer of the money printers. So they go to them. They dump all that money on the public, knowing full well they're going to blow the pipes out of the economy. But they do it anyhow, going against the will of over 90% of the American people. And I'm wrong to be outraged, and I'm a radical, bleeding heart that says I just want problems fixed. And I think we need to demand it. Don't do it for yourself. Don't do it for your family. Don't do it for your loved ones. Do it for strangers. Do it because Jesus said, whatever you do or fail to do for the least of these, whoever you, in your heart, in your mind, honestly believe that to be, then you do or fail to do for Jesus.